Today we're going to talk about how knowing your basic facts can really help you when multiplying bigger numbers. We should know by now 3 times 4 equals 12. I've shown it in a picture down here. 3 times 4 is saying that if I have 3 groups and each group has 4 in it, I should have a total of 12 tallies. So there's my 3 groups. Each group has 4 tallies in it, so it's a total of 12 tallies. Now knowing this fact of 3 times 4 equals 12 helps me to solve the problem 3 times 40 equals 120. Notice I still have 3 groups, but this time I'm putting 40 in each one. Now do you notice a pattern between these two answers? You should notice that they both have a 12 in them. What's different is that I changed the 4 into a 4D. I multiplied 4 by 10 to get 4D, which is what I have down here. 3 times 40, 4 times 10, is 120. Notice how on this side, in my factors, I added a 0. And in my product, I added a 0. Let's see if that pattern continues. I have several different problems here that involve 3 times 4 equals 12 in some way. I have 3 times 40 equals 120. 3 times 400 is 1,200. 30 times 4 equals 120. 300 times 40 equals 12,000. Do you notice any patterns? You should see that on all of these, the factors involve a 3 and a 4. It's just some of them have some zeros added on. You should see that in the products, they always end up with a 12 with, again, some zeros. The way that you know how many zeros to add has to do with how many zeros were added into the factors. So going from 3 times 4 to 3 times 40, I added 1 0. Notice in the answer, going from 12 to 120, I added 1 0. In this problem, I added 2 zeros. In my answer, I added 2 zeros as well. It's all about balancing. Think of it like a teeter-totter. If I add 1 0 to this side, to make it balance out, I need to add 1 0 to this side. Now the same happens if I add the 0 to the first factor. It doesn't matter where the 0 gets added into the factors. It's just the fact that I multiply by 10, I added a 0, so to balance out, I needed to add a 0 over here. Count how many zeros I added over here. 1, 2, 3. Notice in my answer I added 1, 2, 3 to keep it balanced out. Let's try some together. We should know that 7 times 5 equals 35. What would happen if I add a 0 right here? If you said I need to add a 0 to my answer to keep it balanced, you'd be correct. Well, what if I added a 0 to both of them? That's 2 zeros that got added, so I should add 2 zeros to my answer to keep it balanced. What if I added both the zeros, or a 0 just to this one? Well, if I added 1 0, it doesn't matter where the 0 got added, I need to make sure I add a 0 to my answer to keep it balanced. Now it can get a little tricky if the answer to the original problem already has a 0 in it. 8 times 5 equals 40. This 0 right here doesn't count as a 0 that's being balanced. It is part of the answer of my two factors, 8 times 5. So if I were to add a 0 here, I would still need to add an extra 0 here to keep it balanced. Since I added 1 to the 8, I still need to add 1 to the 40 to make it balanced. Think about, would my answer make sense if I didn't add 1? If I thought 80 times 5, and I counted 1 0, 1 0, and thought I was done, would that make sense to say 80 times 5 equals 40? Well, no way. That's 80 groups with 5 in them each. It's going to be way more than 40. In fact, it's going to be 400. Say I added 2 zeros to this guy. What do I do to my answer? Do I add 1 0 over here or 2 zeros? We should have said that I need to add 2 zeros to keep it balanced out. Remember, the 40 is the answer to 8 times 5. That doesn't really count as a 0 that I'm balancing out. Since I added 2 extra zeros over here, I need to add 2 extra zeros over here to keep it balanced. And again, it doesn't matter which one I put the 0 on. I could put the 0 on the 5. And then to balance it off, I would still need to add my 1 0 to the answer. So it's all about, like the teeter-totter, keeping things balanced. I want you to try solving these on your own. I already gave you that core fact. 6 times 7 equals 42, 5 times 4 equals 20, and 6 times 3 equals 18. Think about how many zeros I added to my factors, and all you should have to do is add them to your products as well. Be very careful on this one. Remember that the 0 and 20 is part of the answer to 4 times 5. So think about how many extra zeros I have to add. Go ahead and pause the video now. When you're done, check with the calculator to make sure that you got them all correct.